領域展開
Hi guys, sorry for the lack of updates on the budget Guoja series. I kind of dropped that series. Um, just felt really swamped with a lot of the things going on within my life. So sorry about that if you were looking forward to the series. I will leave a couple links to more other people's videos, specifically main deck Dan's, if you did want to still upgrade the Guoja deck. Other than that, some notable upgrades that I think personally I would say like to push people in the right direction for the Guoja deck is towards either Genbu or a Win Seiryu list. I think both of these lists are very good, specifically the Genbu list being much more prevalent and stronger compared to the Seiryu list. Literally, you just keep milling both of us, and then the longer that you have more water cards in grave, until you draw a Resonating Fugue or something else, you can just swing OTK similarly to how Seiryu would do it, but it's Genbu swinging instead. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I just been lazy and busy, both at the same time, unfortunately. So yeah, on to the actual meat and potatoes of what this video is. This video is my quote-unquote deck profile of my Fire Lorraine that I used for my team in the Ascent Worlds 3v3 event, aka the Path of Steel, and I'll go over some choices as to why we picked it. Some funny things about that is that a week prior to the event, basically we had locked in at least one deck. We locked in our one of the better players on Tristan into win Tristan, and he was gonna sit in the middle. All that was left was two other decks. We came to the conclusion a week ago that hey, we should put Genbu on into the deck composition or for the teams. Because we think that Genbu is still strong. We might still see it in the mirror. We're going to see Genbu across the field regardless. But anything else, any other deck that faces off against anything that is not Genbu will do fine, I think. So our earliest team comp came up with me in A, Win Tristan in B, and then the other player in C. And we came to the conclusion, hey, let's put me on Genbu. I was on Genbu for about a week, and then day 0, aka Friday, our captain, aka Win Tristan, he said, let's switch off of Genbu and into Fractals. And then he switched me over to Fire Aggro. So with less than 12 hours from the event kicking off, about 8 hours, because I switched to the deck about at 2 a.m. And deck registration was locked in at 8:50. I had less than 7 hours of actually testing on this deck. It was very much a straightforward deck from what we know. Playing against this deck at my own personal locals, I do know some of the certain lines that they have without having to play the deck due to the frequency of me having to play against it. Also, it's very much a high roll deck in the aspect if you see the cards, you play the cards. And then I also came to the conclusion that, hey, let me play this deck pretty much balls to the wall. If I have something in hand, I'll play it. I'll pass on certain things if I know that I have interaction on my opponent's turn. But other than that, I'm just going to play an ally swing. I'm going to play action, I'm going to swing. Regardless, I'm going to swing within the 4 turns that I have actions. If I don't, I bricked, and that's that. I'm an auto lose. That's the way that I saw it. So yeah, pretty much an interesting deck, but yeah, let me just get into what is the deck, basically. We pretty much ripped a lot of the cards from Ferenthian's list from when they were in Ascent Worlds. So it's pretty straightforward, but we did make some minor changes to account for the best of 1 format. So you have Spirit of Fire, of course, Fire Aggro, we need the fire. And then Philo, up to level 2. Most of my matches, I literally didn't even go to level 2, so you can cut this however you want. This could be a flex spot, but we said that, hey, we should have the access to level 2 just in case that I get over encumbered by someone that's playing an ally deck, and basically they go wider than me, and in order to clear the board, I go to 2 and then use a flame sweep in hand. Pretty much that was pretty much the reasoning behind this. But yeah, up next we're gonna go over the weapons. We have Clarent Reimagined, Clarent Sword of Peace, Drawn Blade, Forge Light Blade, and then Hua Ji. So the reason that I'm talking about Clarent first is that the reason why we chose this deck was because it has great protection against fractals. Clarent itself is just straight up protect yourself or your board against something that can deal non-combat damage, and using this with overall just felt great. I didn't play into any fractals, but it did protect me against certain things such as Vermilion Decree or whatever. It forced my opponent to say, hey, if I chip you here, will you pop this in response, reducing durability? But I was playing balls to the wall, so I didn't really care. Most of the time, I never used Clarent, the OG Clarent. Most of the time, it was just used as a sacrifice for the newer Clarents. Same thing with Drawn Blade. Since I want to end games quickly, I didn't really have time to materialize this. The only time that I would materialize it is if I wanted to dig into my deck for something. And I was use something from memory because majority of the deck itself is low on floating memory. So I essentially use this as my cycle piece, depending on what I had in memory to do so. Next up, Forge Light Blade. This card is cracked. We decided not to run Sword of Seeking, mainly because Flame Sweep would be my answer to stealth units, and then Forge Light is just ridiculous. I'm not gonna lie. Even though you do take 4 damage just from it entering the board, this is such a good card for being essentially a 2 power sword for 0 cost, and then for 2 durability. This slightly accelerates cards like Rending Flames, putting more damage on it, as well as Honed by Fire to basically swing for essentially 4 damage without any other attacks. So this was just a great card overall. Next up we have Hua Ji. Funny thing about this card is that I did not know that you could use red hair with this card. Originally I thought it was locked behind human allies, but then I guess I remembered that the unique human allies text is applied to red hair. So red hair cannot swing, or it does not have Pride 3 as long as you have fire unique human allies, and this only says unique warrior allies. So I didn't know, I forgot because I played the mirror. They swung with Hua Ji with red hair, and I was like, you can't do that. And then I had to reread the card, and I was like, oh okay, this is actually a bit more nuts than I thought. Because of this, we also decided to run Sunse in the main deck in order to keep buffing this sword and making this more stronger and stronger essentially. But yeah, that's essentially the weapons. Next up we have our utility. Essentially these are going to be all my draw: Portentous Tengu, Smoke Bombs, Water Bobble, and Wind Bobble. The reason that I do not have, you'll notice just looking at my material deck, I do not have a Divine Relic. The reason being is that I said to my team, hey, if you guys want to be at full power regalia wise, I'll let you guys do that. Just let me know what I need to put into this version of the deck so that you guys get all of the Divine Relics that you need. The main 2 Divine Relics that we said that were the most strongest regardless, and outside just regardless, was Grand Crusader's Ring, due to the fact that you draw. That's a restabilization Divine Relic. And then the other one was Quick Silver Grail to protect other cards or cheat out other cards within certain timings. Other than that, yeah, we just said, hey, fire aggro, you just go, so you get all of these. One card I would possibly switch out for is possibly the Tengu, In a lot of my matchups, since I was playing balls to the wall, I barely had enough cards in hand to pop 3 in hand to pop Tengu Beginning of Recollection. So essentially, I would never barely even materialize this until the last second in order to do it. Since my personal playstyle with this deck was just playing balls to the wall. Smoke bombs. This is just generic. Like literally, pop this on something that has stealth, and then you can swing through for game if your opponent thinks that you don't have it, and basically that. 2 baubles, because we know that Genbu was going to be the most prevalent, so this is just an auto include. This is a free draw. And then most of the time they were just bricks if I did not play against it because of where I was seated. Or the high RNG aspect of what the 3v3 team was. But yeah, that's my material deck. Let's go over the main deck. So we have these are somewhat sorted, so sorry for the lack of that. 3 Sunse, like I said, with the Hua Ji combo with red hair on board and being able to swing with red hair if you have a Shoutouts on the board as well, or an Arthur. This is just like making red hair swing for like so much damage, as well as buffing your other swords. So essentially this is a pretty good card, I'm not gonna lie. Now let's move on to our unique human allies for red hair. We have Shoutouts, sorry if I'm butchering the names, and Arthur. These are the main 2 / quote unquote 8 cards that we do want to see in our opening hand, just to enable red hair shenanigans from the get-go. Arthur, we already know, turn 1, drop Arthur, make him immortal. The only deck that can interact with it would be Wind with Dream Fairy, but even then, a lot of my matchups, since I was on the side seat, they didn't have interaction to remove it outside of like playing fast spells in my recollection. Same thing with Shoutouts. The stealth is actually much more stronger than I anticipated in my head or theory crafting. The fact that your opponent basically has to leave up an intercept or a lurking assailant that's awake in order to do so, to clear this, or use a spell to clear it, made it the most annoying, because the longer that stays on board, the longer that I'm threatening red hair to drop immediately. Next up, the GOAT himself, red hair right here. Basically, yeah, he was the most threatening on the board. Every time I dropped him, my opponents were like, hey, I don't know how I'm gonna kill that, but I have to kill it. Some things about the deck I would say is that most of the games that I did have when I did drop red hair, I just didn't have these in hand, or I didn't have enough to play them, or some sort of way I could not play them. I just had to rely on certain other actions in order to clutch through, or I just died pretty much on the spot. Other than that, this is the main core, I would say, that you would have to run in this deck. Other than that, you're just playing a bunch of like low-cost fire allies that pretty much do other stuff. These are all my uniques. And then let's move on to some more fire allies. We have 2 Blazing Bowmen. Like I said, we ripped this list from Ferenthian's list with minor adjustments. 3 Sword Saints of Everflames, 3 Clumsy Apprentice, and then 4 Hasty Messengers. If anything, Hasty Messenger is the next best thing next to red hair, in my personal opinion. The value of also Blazing Bowman was pretty much underappreciated, to me at least. Blazing Bowman, like mid-game / late game, this guy's actually the GOAT. Sword Saint is also one of the quote-unquote underdogs that I like the most from playing this deck. Majority of the times I never played Clumsy because I did not want to push myself within range of lethal, even though digging into my deck was essentially the game plan. I rarely played cards that made me either gave value to my opponent at the expense of drawing another card, so that was one thing. But other than that, there was a lot of funny shenanigans that you can do with Sword Saint. For example, you are level 1 or higher as Lorraine. You swing with Hasty. You can discard a Sword Saint, and then before damage is applied for the Hasty Messenger effect, since this is an on attack trigger, you can pay an additional 2, buff this, and then essentially swing for 3 instead of 1. That's if you are playing a more aggressive style. Yeah, that's pretty much the line that I saw most of the time, and I committed to that line. Another one was that I would do Blazing Bowman, let it do its on enter, and then when it would swing before damage is applied, do the Sword Saint thing. There was a lot of before damage shenanigans that I was doing with Sword Saint when it was in grave. I would just do it. Like I said, the playstyle that I did was balls to the wall. If they have an answer, they have an answer. I just live and die by it pretty much, because due to the nature of best of one. But yeah, pretty much that. Next up, we have attacks. I think these are pretty standard. You're gonna see these in a lot of lists, since the whole point is to have fire cards in grave. A majority of the time, these cards would literally just end the game right on the spot. We have 4 fiery momentums, 4 rending flames, and then 3 flame sweeps. Like I said, Frenthian was not playing this and Sunset. That's fine. The reason we added these was that, like I said, level 2, we have additional health. We can answer wider boards and deal inherently more damage. Going into level 2 also enables more overkill turns if our opponent has like heal or prevention effects. So that would be that. Fire Momentum alone was very much a stronger card if I had it in hand against Genbu, due to the fact that, hey, we're both milling consistently. You are just powering me up for this. And same thing with Rending Flames. By turn 2 or 3, I will have 3 fire cards in grave. So this turns on this. Flame Sweep, like my captain said, aka Brian, he made the meta call to switch out a couple Clumsy Apprentices and a couple cards from the ally side of the list to switch it out for these. Overall, I think it was a fine call. Even then, I think I could get away with playing 2 and then playing a couple more allies just so that I can have more wider base to like deal damage. But even then, I was fine with his call. But yeah, essentially those are my attacks. There's nothing much to say here. Rending Flames, my goat. Fire Momentum, my goat. Flame Sweeps, my side piece, you know? All right, on to my, let me see. I guess my actions. I'll save these ones for last. Home by Fire, a lot of funny shenanigans you can run doing Home by Fire with your attack cards. Essentially, by turn 1 or 2, you can, not turn 1, sorry, turn 2, you can turn on Rending Flames and kill them. Essentially, if they don't respect this card. Just a lot of funny shenanigans. Also with Ember Flame Sword, with the Forge Light Blade, with the Forge Light Blade, buff this sword to 4. This swings for 7, times that by 2, 14. Essentially, yeah, this can kill like literally as fast as possible. A lot of my games were also done within 10 minutes, or even if they didn't, it was because I bricked. Next up, 3 Vermilion Decrees. I rarely played this card. It's just a personal preference of mine. Even if I did, I never did it for the imbue cost. I would typically just do it for the answering the board. But even then, since I played it at 3, I barely even saw it in this format. A lot of my matchups are my opponent would do the imbue to draw a card. I understand the value in drawing to replace itself, but also the threat that I'm giving my opponent a card was a bit too scary on me, so I need to be comfortable playing around that. But overall, I think this is still a decent card overall. A couple of the cards that I thought were actually GOAT status for me in this format was 2 Demolition and that's in this other list. To reduce, if anything, I would have bumped these up a bit more. Demolition, mainly for the stealth units if I didn't draw a flame sweep, and even then it's just 3 damage that I can do in recollection to push more damage onto my opponent. Reduce to ash, oh my god, this literally won me a game against someone that misplayed very heavily. Sorry to bring them up, but like, hey, it happens. But they misplayed in the point that essentially they had enough damage to kill me on the turn that I used this on them, but they miscalculated and brought a Grand Crusader's Ring instead, and essentially me popping their sword of seeking allowed me to survive for another turn and essentially come back. That was the crazy thing to me. They even showed me the line. I was like, yeah, that was literally the line, bro. Like, if you had another sword, I would have been like effed. But like, other than that, these cards are goated. I love these cards. Another couple cards that I should be talking about, but I basically dilly-dallying around. 3 Blazing Throws, 4 Tempered Steels, 4 Creative Shocks, and 2 Deflecting Edges. Another GOAT for me personally. Deflecting Edge, my opponents most of the time, since it was a best of 1 format, I would use this early on to protect my board, and then I would stay on 1 card in hand due to the fact that I was just going balls to the wall. If I didn't have it or have it, it didn't matter. Just me having 1 card in hand and a sword on field kind of mind gamed them into thinking that I did have it. Because there was multiple times I was like thinking I was dead here. I was like literally dead, but my opponent was like pass. They would just hold full grip, see what I would do, and then I would still do balls to the wall plays and then still have 1 in hand with a sword. And then they, even afterwards, they told me, oh, I thought you had another Deflecting Edge. So this is actually big metagaming. Just literally, guys, just do it. It doesn't matter. Another card was this card, Blazing Throw, another unintentional GOAT. Literally, there was so many times that I pushed my opponent to 18. They had essentially a Song of Frost in hand. And then if they didn't have Song of Frost, I played against the Genbu for this example, but I pushed them to 18. I think they had Song of Frost in hand. If they didn't have Song of Frost, I still had enough cards to pay for a Blazing Throw to kill them, and then basically that would be that, because then they would put their whole hand down for that situation. So yeah, Tempered Steel, another one of my goats. This is also just to inherently protect clearance, because the longer clearance is on the board, I can protect my board or myself from non-combat damage. Creative Shock, we already know, just generically, just the goat. Literally dig and wreck and just go off. But yeah, that was pretty much my list. I don't know if Brian or Nolan are going to post their lists, but yeah, overall, fun event. I'm not going to lie. If you guys are thinking about going to Ascent Worlds, there's no harm in not going. It's just, hey, just go. Honestly, my experience was fun. Shared an Airbnb with a bunch of locals, so that was the cool part. Met a lot of cool people overall, and then also got this Ascent Day 2 mnemonic charm, so that can be used as an invite into any nat since it's a wild card. So there's no threat at the possibility of not going. So if you guys want more content, I don't know what I'm gonna be posting anymore. My friend has been telling me that they want to do another starter deck budget challenge, but this time with CL and Diana. But that's a bit scary to me because I'm also lazy. So if you guys want other content, leave a comment down below. Also, shouts out to SB Clover, aka SB the Raccoon. They were giving out automaton drone tokens. This one is actually based off of Cordelia, aka this is Carol the automaton drone. Yeah, just overall, if you guys are thinking about going to Ascent Worlds or like an Ascent, just go. Like, there's no harm in going. There's a lot of freebies that you can get. Another thing was that you can get like cool Sealed the Past promo. I got this from doing the stamp rally, And then also, as you noticed, my mnemonic charm is slabbed. It says, heck is this? They were doing the Sylvie grading service for $10, and this is what I gotcha'd, and yeah, this is pretty cool. But yeah, if you guys want any more content from me, I don't know what I'm gonna post anymore. But yeah, peace. Oh yeah, like, comment, subscribe. Don't forget. Doing YouTuber things now. Peace.